Good morning, children. Let's start with revision of physiography and drainage. Now, in the previous session, we had discussed about the Himalaya mountains and the Indo-Gangetic plain. Now, in this session, we will be learning about the Peninsula Region. Okay? Now, this is a peninsula. Now, what is a peninsula? Peninsula is a landmass which is surrounded on three sides by water and the fourth side is land. Okay. Now, India is a peninsula because it has the Arabian Sea to the west, the Bay of Bengal to the east, and the Indian Ocean to the south. Now, what is this Indian peninsula? Now, the area lying to the south of the North Indian plain and tapering towards the Indian Ocean is called the Indian Peninsula. Okay, so now can you see this here? Okay, so this is the tapering part and this is found to the southern part of the North Indian plain and it tapers towards the Indian Ocean. And if you look at this, region, peninsula region, you'll find it is made up of many plateaus. Okay, and we also have the mountain ranges like the Vindhya ranges are there, the Satpura ranges are there. Okay, then we have the plateau, the Maharashtra plateau, okay, the Sahyadri ranges. Now these are made up of smaller plateaus. Okay, now the peninsula region is made up of many plateaus and hill ranges. And to the north of the peninsula region, we have the Ravli Mountains. The Ravli Mountains are old fold mountains. Now, unlike the Himalayas, which are new fold mountains, the Ravlis are old fold mountains. And this includes many plateaus and also ranges like we have the Vindhyas, the Satpuras, okay, as well as the hilly ranges of the western and eastern Ghats. Okay, let's get back to the map here. Okay, now we have the the Ravli mountain range. Okay, here, just a minute. Okay, now can you see here? This is the Ravli Mountains, old fold mountains. Okay, and it stretches from the northeast to the southwest direction. Okay, now it is made up of smaller hills and mountain ranges. As I said, we have the Vindhya range, then we have the Satpura ranges. Okay, then we have the Maharashtra plateau here, and apart from that, we also have the Western Ghats on the west and the Eastern Ghats on the east. Okay. Now, this is pertaining to the map that we've just done. Okay, there's some questions based on this. In which direction do the Ravlis lie? Okay. Now, look at this. Here we have the Ravli Mountains. Okay, so in which part do the Ravli Mountains lie? Okay, the Ravli Mountain range, okay, stretches in southeast, okay, northeast to southwest direction. Okay, can you see this? Okay, so the Ravlis are in the western part of India and stretches from the northeast to the southwest direction. Name the hills located on the plateaus to east of Ravlis. Okay, so get back to the map again. Okay, so to the east of the Ravlis, okay, we have many plateaus. You can just name a few. Like we have the Malwa Plateau here, the Bundelkhand. Okay, apart from that, we have the Vindhya ranges. Okay, then we have, okay, this is clear here better. So we have the Vindhya ranges, we have the Satpura ranges. Okay, then, okay, then Mahadev Hills, Michael ranges, Michael here, Michael ranges are there. Okay, so these are the plateaus and hill ranges found to the eastern part of the Vindhya range. I mean, to the eastern part of the Ravli ranges, we have the hills and plateaus like the Vindhya ranges. Then we have Satpuras, Mahadev, and Michael range, etc. Then, which hill ranges lie to the west of the Deccan Plateau? Okay, so we have the Deccan Plateau here. Okay, so to the west of the Deccan Plateau, we have the Sahyadri range. Is that clear, children? So we have the Sahyadri range here, and this is the Deccan Plateau. Okay, so which hill ranges lie to the west of the Deccan Plateau? To the west of the Deccan Plateau lie the Sahyadri hill ranges. Then name any two mountain ranges in the northern part of India. Okay, so this is the northern part of India. We have got many hill ranges. Okay, we have the Karakoram, okay, the Ladakh ranges, then Pirfanjal range, okay, then we have the Shivalik ranges. So these are the ranges seen in the Himalayas, okay, or to the north of India. Okay, so you just have to write any two mountain ranges. Here I have given four: Karakoram range, Ladakh range, Zaskar range, Shivalik range. So out of these, you need to write just two mountain ranges seen in the northern part of India. Okay, then let's come to the coastal plains. Okay, now if you look at the coastal region of India, we have a very long coastline that is approximately about 7,500 kilometers. And you can see the coastal plains along the western part as well as the eastern part of India. Okay, so the western part is seen bordering the Arabian Sea, and it is a rocky coast. Okay, at certain places we find spurs taking off from the Western Ghats extend right up to the coast. Okay, so let's get back to the map again. So if you look at the coastline, we find we have a very long coastline, about 7,500 kilometers. And you'll find the western coastline is more or less indented when we compare it with the eastern coastline. And look at the coast. Okay, when you compare the western coast with the eastern coast, we find the western coast is very narrow. The eastern coast is broad. Okay, so the western coast borders the Arabian Sea. The eastern coast borders the Bay of Bengal. Okay, then the western coast is known as the Konkan coast in Maharashtra. Okay, then in Kerala it is known as the Malabar coast, and in Tamil Nadu is called the Coromandel coast. In Orissa it is known as the Utkal coast. Okay, then at certain times we find the spurs which take off from the Western Ghats extend right up to the coastline. So that is why you find, see, look at the coastline, you find it is very, very narrow. Okay, then what about the rivers? Okay, many rivers, okay, which rise in the Western Ghats, okay, are short and swift, and those which open into the Arabian Sea do not form deltas, but they form estuaries. Okay, because the coastline is rather narrow and the rivers are short and they swift, and they do not form deltas. They form estuaries. Okay, so we have rivers like, the Periyar River, okay, the Narmada, Tapi, etc., flow into the Arabian Sea. Okay, then what about the eastern coast? Now, if you look at the eastern coast, it is broader than the western coast, and rivers, most of the rivers which have their origin in the Western Ghats move through the plateau region and open into the Bay of Bengal because of the tilt of you know, the Deccan Plateau. Okay, and these have formed extensive deltas at the mouths of the rivers. So, rivers like the Mahanadi, the Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, etc., have all formed extensive deltas along the mouth, which is formed due to a depositional work of these rivers. Okay? So, as I said, rivers which originate in the Western Ghats are short and swift, okay, and which flow into the Arabian Sea are short and swift, and they form estuaries instead of deltas. And rivers which open into the Bay of Bengal, okay, have formed extensive deltas which are formed as a result of the depositional work of the rivers. Okay, so now rivers rising from the western eastern Ghats, they flow into the Bay of Bengal. We have many rivers like the Krishna, the Kaveri, okay, then we have Godavari, Mahanadi, etc., have formed extensive deltas at their mouths. Okay, now next is we come to islands. Okay, so let's get back to the map. Okay, now what are these islands which you see in the Arabian Sea called? Now they are known as the Lakshadeep Islands. Okay, now Lakshadeep Islands are atoll islands. They are small. Okay, and here in the Bay of Bengal, we have Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, then you can see, they are, and in the Nicobar Islands, of course. Okay, when you compare the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, we find, okay, we have a volcano in Barren Island, which is an active one. Okay, okay, so apart from these two, we have two large islands in the Arabian Sea as well as the Bay of Bengal. Okay, the islands in the Arabian Sea are known as Lakshadi Islands, and the islands in the Bay of Bengal are called Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, then now apart from these, we also have small islands, okay, which are seen along the coastline. For example, on the western coast, we have islands like, say, we have Helen Islands, okay. Then we have on the eastern side, okay. I'll just show you just a minute. Okay, now small islands can be seen. Okay, then okay, here we have new more islands here. Okay, then so these are small coastal islands which are formed as a result of deposition of alluvium. Okay, now apart from this, these two are major ones. There's the Lakshadeep Islands, which is found in the Arabian Sea, and the Bay of Bengal. In the Bay of Bengal, we have the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, so come to Lakshadeep Islands. Now, Lakshadeep Islands are atoll islands, and compared to the Andaman Nicobar Islands, they are small and they are not very high. Okay, then Andaman Islands. Now, Andaman Islands are volcanic islands, and if you look at the Andaman Islands, you find they have in the interior, on the central part of the island, there is it's actually large, and with they have hill. It's actually a hilly central part in the Andaman Islands. Okay, then here in the Andaman Islands, we have the only known active volcano in the in India, and this is known as Barren Island. Okay, then in the Nicobar group of islands also we have atolls. Okay, so children, I think you remember what we have just gone through. Okay, you'll have to go through the map that we have just done. Okay, look at the coastline of India. We have a long and extensive coastline, about 7,500. Okay, and if you compare the western coastline with the eastern coastline, we find the western coastline is more or less, say, indented, and there's a reason why we have many natural harbors on the western part of India. Okay, eastern part of India, we find the coastline is not so indented because it is formed as a result of the deposition of alluvium. Okay, and but we do have some harbors. Okay, here. All right. Now, next is western coast. When you compare western uh, coastland with the eastern coastline, you find western coastline as such is narrow, the eastern coastline is broad. Okay, then the western coastline borders the Arabian Sea, the eastern coastline borders the Bay of Bengal. Okay, most of the rivers which rise in the western Ghats, okay, except for Narmada, Tapi, then Periyar, etc., flow into the Bay of Bengal because of the tilt of the Deccan Plateau. Okay, and they have formed extensive deltas. Okay, then what about the islands? We have two groups of islands, main group of islands in the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, called the Lakshadeep and the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, then Lakshadeep Islands, they are smaller, okay, and they're not very high, and they are atoll islands. Andaman Islands, okay, we have compared to the Lakshadeep Islands, they are bigger in size, and they have a hilly interior. Okay, then the only known active volcano in India, that is Barren Island, is found in the Andaman Island. Nicobar Islands are made up of atolls. Okay, so we have covered all the physical features of India here in this part. Okay, so here is a small activity for you which I want you to write in your notebook. Okay, write whether the following statements are right or wrong and correct the ones which are wrong. Okay, so Ravlis and the south are the oldest fold mountains. Okay, so where the Ravli is found, is it in the south or the north, children? Okay, so this is a wrong statement because Aravallis are in the north. Okay, then second one, deltas are found on the western coast of India. All of you know deltas are not found on the western coast, so it is a wrong statement again. The correct statement is deltas are found on the eastern coast of India. The third one, western coast is narrower than the eastern coast. Okay, so the statement is right. The next one, the islands in Lakshadweep are atoll islands. Okay, now the islands in the Lakshadweep are atoll islands. So again, the statement is Right. The fifth one. The volcano in the barren island is an extinct one. Okay. So volcano on the barren island is not an extinct one. It is an active volcano. So the statement is wrong. Correct it. So the corrected statement is the volcano in the barren island is an active one. So children, I want you to write this in your notebook. Okay. Also, you'll have to write the corrected statement also. Okay. So till then, children, go through this lesson. Okay. And we'll continue with this lesson in the next session. Till then, thank you.